What's up, everybody? This is my next video. In this video, I'm going to be answering a really deep question, a really kind of metaphorical question. I know I've been thinking of it a lot. Maybe somebody else has. I know I'm not the first person to ask it. That question is, what's up with Greenland? Like I said, I'm not the first person to ask this question. Who was? I don't know who the first person was to ask the question, but the first person that I saw ask the question, it was Owen Benjamin, right? He's the first guy. He really pioneered this whole new kind of thinking, right? I was introduced to it by a personal friend, and then I just really, the Owen Benjamin just opened my eyes. What's up with Greenland? What is up with Greenland? There are a lot of things that are really suspicious, and I wrote a couple of them down right here. The first one, Greenland is the same size, if not larger, than Africa. If you look on a Mercator map, which is the most accurate map, and if you want to travel somewhere, you will use a Mercator projection map because it is the most accurate kind of map. Okay, that's the map you use, and you look on that map. Not any other map. You look on that map, the most accurate map. Guess what? The size of Greenland and the size of Africa, they're the same. Why? Why is that? Why is that? Well, it's just a big, it's a continent. Uh-oh. That's a problem. It's not a continent. Greenland, for some reason, isn't a continent, but Africa is. Why is that? Why is that? That doesn't make any sense. Australia is a continent, and it's way smaller than Greenland or Africa. It's also irrelevant, Greenland is super relevant. Greenland is on the map according to the round Earth theory, which I say theory because that's all it is a theory, if you look on the globe, you look on a globe. I don't have a globe. Here, I'll use this. You look on a globe, you've got North America, like right here, and then you've got Greenland right here, and then on this side, on the other side, you've got like Russia and stuff, right? Russia and the United States, huge enemies in history, right? They Cold War, all that, and then oh, what a surprise! Greenland's right there, the only relevant country between the two major powers, Greenland. I mean, I think there's like Canada. I think Canada's up there too. But they don't matter. They don't care. There's like 30,000 people in Canada. So, they're irrelevant, right? It's like just a bunch of Eskimos or something. And they're small. Not Greenland, excuse me. Canada's a really small country, especially when compared to like any other country of relevance. Canada's really unimportant. So that's why I'm ignoring it. Unlike Greenland, right? It's huge. It's giant. It's continent. It's literally continent sized. It functionally is a continent, and it's in arguably the most important spot in the world. If there was a World War III and Russia and the United States were on separate sides, they would fight in Greenland. That's where they would fight. That whole continent. I say continent because it should be a continent. Australia should be demoted, right? I don't know why it's not like that, right? So they should switch places, and then Greenland would be the main battleground in that, like, war, if there was a ground war between the two, which I know that's admittedly unlikely. Modern warfare these days is just like drones and robots and stuff, right? Everybody knows that, right? But my point being, Greenland is that super important little space right there. If you want to invade either country, you're going to have to go through Greenland. Hugely important strategic value, okay? Huge strategic value. It's insane, really it is, My next point is, allegedly, Africa's population is 1.2 billion people, okay? Greenland's population, 35,000. That's interesting. Does that make sense to anybody? Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. They're the same size. They're the same size pieces of land. And one is, 10,000% larger in population than the other one is. That's something to squint your eyes at. Why is it every continent except Greenland, excluding Australia, that's not a real continent, excluding Australia, every continent has, hundreds of millions, if not billions of people, right? That's really interesting. Asia, the largest continent, really it's not even Asia, it's Eurasia, has like 4 billion people on it, right? And then Africa has a billion, the North America has a billion, and South America has a billion, and that gets us to 7 billion, right? And then the odd people scattered around, varying islands, right? Why does Greenland only have 35,000? That doesn't make any sense. It's continent size. Every other continent has hundreds of millions of people living. Greenland doesn't? I find that hard to believe, right? Something of that size, never mentioned, right? Never talked about. You go to school, if you go to school, they never talk about Greenland in social studies class. You get a huge big unit about North America, right? You get a huge, they name all the continents, blah, blah, blah. Greenland's never mentioned, right? They don't ever mention Greenland. Why is that? That's suspicious also, right? That's like, it's that large and we're just not going to even talk about it? Are we going to act like nobody lives there? Allegedly, nobody does. That's what the textbooks will tell you. That's what teachers will tell you. Professionals will tell you. I don't believe that. And I think the most rational people, they don't believe it either. I think that's suspect, right? My next point is kind of related to my first point. The United States attempted to buy Greenland, right? Attempted to buy the entire continent, which would have made it the largest country in the world. It would have been the only real country that is entirely encompassing a continent, right? Again, Australia doesn't count, right? It's irrelevant. It's small. There's like 2 million people that live there, okay? Nobody cares, right? Literally nobody cares. My point is, again, really interesting, that hugely important space of land in an alleged war between Russia and the United States was attempted to be purchased by one of those two parties. That's really interesting, Why did the United States want to buy Greenland, right? That's interesting. I won't say that doesn't make sense. I don't have all the information. They didn't succeed. That might have been because the current owners of Greenland were afraid of retaliation from other powers if they sold it to the United States, right? If the United States held that land, that is a huge advantage in event of a conflict between the United States and Russia. Okay, and then they tried to buy it. That seems really interesting. I think that seems really interesting to a lot of other people, a lot of other thinkers on this planet. My next point. Again, I got ahead of myself. Got a little excited. Why does Australia get to be a continent, but then Greenland doesn't? Well, I've got a little bit of a theory to explain that, right? It's a red herring, okay? We, in school, when they're brainwashing us, when they're getting their little fingers in our little kid brains and manipulating us to think the way that the government wants us to think, they tell us that Australia is a continent. Australia is a continent. This little teeny island is a continent, right? They never mention Greenland. You know why? Because they don't want you to think that Greenland is a continent. They want you to forget about Greenland. And so, kids are curious. Kids don't understand politics yet. So they're going to look at Greenland and they're going to say, why isn't this a continent? Why isn't this a continent? To distract them from that being a continent, they talk about Australia. As far away on a map as you can get from Greenland up here, if Greenland's up here, as far away as you can get from Greenland on the map is way down here, And guess what's way down there? Coincidentally, Australia, okay? And it's pretty big, but it's like the state of Texas size, right? It's like the same square foot as Texas is, right? And so they just say, oh, Australia's a continent. And then they just talk about Australia. You know what, Australia? Nobody lives there, dude. It's all desert. If you look at a map of Australia, this whole area here, desert. That's all it is, desert. People only live on the coast. Are you telling me that's seriously, A, that's a country? No. B, that's a continent? What? No, dude, like I said, it's the size of Texas. Literally look that fact up on your phone right now. That is a fact. Australia, Texas, same size. Why is that a continent? And we have actual continents that don't get to be continents? That's suspect, okay? Again, it's a red herring. To distract you from Greenland's suspect behavior up here, they put you down here in Australia, right? No, no, no. That is not true. Greenland is a real continent. It's gotta be. Just literally look at the most accurate map in the world. That's their big mistake. That's the government's, that's big cartography's big mistake, okay? They forgot to make Greenland small. They forgot to shrink it down, right? They doubled Australia's size on the map, but they didn't half Greenland's size on the map, okay? Us free thinkers, we resisted the brainwashing in school. We asked in social studies class, we said, what about Greenland? What about Greenland? And while we were getting laughed at, big cartography was shaking in their boots, okay? That's why we all failed. That's why I would fail social studies class. That's why the free thinkers are always the outcasts, okay? Because everybody else is afraid to think for themselves. What's up with Greenland? All these different things point to something being up with Greenland, right? Its location, its size, its alleged population. Compared to everything else, it's an outlier, right? It's huge, but nobody lives. It's extremely important on a strategic scale between two enemies. It's the exact middle ground. It'd be hugely contested, but it doesn't look like either one of them really wants it, other than one attempt to buy it. That doesn't make any sense, right? And we know the school system is corrupt, right? We know the government is corrupt. We know that they don't teach us everything that's true. They lie to us intentionally. That's already been proven, right? But the point is, all these things come together, and then we're supposed to believe that something's not happening in Greenland. Something is definitely happening there, okay? And I want to know what, right? I don't know what it is. I don't even have a clue what's happening. I don't want to even theorize yet, okay? But I'm gonna figure it out, right? I'm gonna gather a group of professionals, and together we're gonna figure out what's up with Greenland.